Hello, Maggie. Could you tell us your name for the people that are going to be watching?
I'm Mrs Maggie McDonald.
Would you mind if I asked how old you were?
Well, I was 81 on the 18th of January.
And so what year were you born?
Pardon?
What year were you born?
1896.
Well, should we start then? Whereabouts were you born, Maggie?
Oh, I was born in hospital. And I was fostered out to an old couple.
Really?
Yes. And the old couple were old. And they stayed in Abbey Strand.
Why was that?
Well, I don't know. My mother hadn't been married, you see. And
so you were lucky to find these two people?
they took a dram, you know, but they looked after me. And you know this? When I was in the infirmary that last time, the surgeon himself, he says, you know, Mrs McDonald, you've got a wonderful constitution for your age. I says, well, sir, I was brought up with no fancy things, kale and porridge, night and morning. And if I didn't take the porridge, it was on the hope at dinner time, and I had to eat it. And I hate no with the milk. I hate no with the milk, we go.
So it was down at the bottom of the Royal High Street there?
That was,
it was down at the bottom of the High Street?
No, the High Street.
Where was
the
it?
The Canongate, where the palace is.
Ah, yes, yeah.
There's house, where I stayed, the house is there yet, but they're all offices. James was down there the other week, and he says, Ma, I've seen Granny Middleton's windows. You can, they've made it onto offices, but they've no knocked down the building in any way.
So what was it like then? I mean, what was life like to someone like me who didn't know those days?
It was poor. People were awfully poor. You were awfully poor. Old Mr Middleton was a baker. That's my foster father. And he used to walk from Abbey Strand to Lauder for his work. He was a baker.
All the way to Lauder?
To Lauder, that's true.
Not every day, did he?
No, it was a jobbing job he had, maybe for 3 days. He wasn't a fancy baker, he was a bread all-round baker. But I was very poor brought up, very poor.
And when did you go to school?
Oh, when I was 5.
And what school?
Only school, and that school's there yet.
What was it?
Milton House School.
Aye, and what was it like then?
It was good. I loved the school. Oh yes, it was good. And there's a woman that goes to the lunch club. Her and I used to be together at in the same seat, you know. Famous Mrs White. And she's older than me. You see, I think she's a year older than me. Oh no, it's months older than me.
So what games did you used to play when you were a wee girl?
Oh, tag and guess names or things in the windows, you know, in the grocers. The names of the things that was to sell, you know. Well, you never got any luxuries.
No.
I got a halfpenny a week.
Right.
I was
of course,
lucky.
there'd be no traffic on the roads then, though, was there? Was it horses and carts?
It was horse and carts. And a hansom cab. I remember the old Middletons going to a wedding one time. And of course they couldn't leave me. And it was a hansom cab. And it's only for 2, you see. And the man spoke for up above. And she says, can you push my wee lassie in? Because she couldn't leave me. Oh, Michty. I was like this. I was a wee skinny thing, you can. Oh, aye. And I got to the wedding. And the hansom cab. Raw hansom cab. And they started the motor cars. It was just sort of toffs that got the motor cars, you know. And I went to the school till I was 5, till I was 14.
So what second did you go to? Was it always at the same school?
The one school.
Oh, they taught right through all the ages then, did they?
All through.
Uh-huh.
Was I getting palmies for being stupid and all that? But I passed the elementary, I think you cried it or something these days. I was in the top class anyway. I used to go to the cooking and all that, you know. Oh,
when you look back at those years, Maggie, do you look back and think, well, what a nice time it was?
And I used to say to old Middleton, will you give me tuppence? I'm going to make a wee taste. I've nae tuttences to give you. She wouldn't give you, eh? Wouldn't give you, eh?
Think it was a good time when you were young?
No, it was a hard time, I tell you.
You even remember it hard when you were a wee girl?
Once a year. It must have come for the council this. They called it the Crank Trip.
Mm-hmm.
And all the poor bairns got. But I was over 10 then. Or 10 or 11. And if you collect it with the boxes, as the Gartha School boys, pipe band and brass band, we went to Polton, that's where we went to, every year. Well, if you collect it every day, you go every day to the picnic, you see. Well, Maggie liked that. And used to collect in the Waverley station. And one time I was collecting, I was awfully poor. No much, no fancy clothes or nothing like that. She used to make doing her old skirts for a skirt for me, awfully poor. And this lady come forward, she was getting a ticket, I mind it, and she handed me a bag of fruit. I had the box, you see, collecting the money, and then you had to go back to the school with the box, with the money. And another time I fell off a car in Princess Street, collecting. I'll make you jump off, you see, and I jumped off that way, and oh, my hand was all skint, and Maggie was greeting, but nobody bothered about it. And I went home at night, oh, there was no wheel with my hand all skint. But it didn't keep me from going the next day. But that was all the pleasure we had once a year. I got for the week, you know.
Did you go and play on Arthur's Seat?
That was where I played, no in Arthur's Seat.
No.
Or in the palace, where the palace is. I used to go there on a Monday in my bare feet, son. In my bare feet. And the officers at the door says, now, don't touch the beds, the flower beds. But they go to Kenya, you see, another wee lassie and I. And we go into the palace grounds for tea. And I'll tell you where I sat. I sat up in the mound where it looks into the park, to the palace gardens, you know. Oh, I've seen marvellous sights of royalty, you know. I remember when Queen Victoria died.
Do you really?
Yes. And
what happened?
I didn't ken. I just heard it. And King Ed was made King Edward and Queen Alexandria. She used to wear the high necks, you know. Oh, I've seen marvellous sights. No shutting in cars and all that. They were all came in carriages and the beautiful soldiers and the spears. Oh, I told the Queen that. I said, I've seen marvellous sights of royalty. So I have. And while the royalty was, they came for 10 days every year. And they used to have, I think it would be a dinner dance, but they cried it a lever. And the ladies would walk down the Canongate.
Long dresses,
long dresses, and holding them up, you know. And the gentlemen with their towel hats and their suits and their walkings. Oh my, I've seen marvellous sights in the Canongate. I think I'm the only in that's living of the Aldens. I had 10 bairns in the Canongate and a wee button bairn, son.
Well, wait a minute now. Wait a minute, you left school at 14?
Yes.
And what did you think you were going to do?
Service.
Really?
Oh, I hadn't where to go. The old folk was out old, they weren't able to look after themselves. They took a dram, and I was working in a printing work, and I got 4 shillings a week in the printing work. I was learning lithograph and feeding in for a stall, you know. And she used to, 4 and 6 I got, she would give me a sixpence and take the 4 shillings and the 2 of them just to drink. See, drink was awfully cheap these days.
Aye.
Oh, I had no life at all. But as Mr. Cowie, the minister, said to me, he says, Maggie, though they took a dram, they were good to you. You were brought up. They never neglected me. Like the food. Oh, it was porridge and kale, everything. Oh, God. But you see, that's what the surgeon said to me, says, you've got a wonderful constitution.
Well, when you went to the factories, it was a big printing factory,
no,
was it?
No, it wasn't big.
No, small.
It was in up St James's Street into Swinton Row.
And what was that like?
A wee shop. And with me being tall, they put me in among the machinery, you see. And the foreman says, Maggie, we'll give you a chance to learn feeding in a lithographing machine. Oh, I liked it. Well, old Mrs Middleton had a granddaughter, was ages with me, and she was working in Duncan's, and she was getting 8 shillings a week. She says, Maggie, she'll come to Duncan's, never let one to Granny, and you'll get 8 shillings a week, and that before you'll leave. And you got murdered. I fell out with her, and here she went and told Granny that I was working. And when I would go home, the old mother used to say, where have you been? You're all fluid. You see, I was in the starch room then, in Duncan City. And then it all come, oh, I've got enough of leather for that. But I deserved it, you see, but it was true, huh?
So what did you do next?
Well, I was working in Miller's sweetie work. And I was in digs when I was 15. And the head of Miller's sweetie work had got to hear that I was in lodgings, and that was a terrible thing for a young lass to be in lodgings and nobody. So he sent for me. He sent one of the girls for the office to, I says, I've not done anything wrong. She says, oh, Mr. Smith just wants to see you. You see, it's Miller's, but it was Smith that he owned it. They kept up the old name. So here he says, Maggie, she says, sit down. He says, where are you staying? Saying the Carnegie. He says, who with? I says, with my chum's mother. He says, well, you're far too young to get knocked about like this. He says, what about your parents? Oh, I says, I had to leave them. You see, they weren't looking after my eye. You came, when I half drunk or something like that, you go and drink cheap ladies. Well, he says, I'm going to put, I think I hear him saying it to me. He says, I'm going to put a proposition to you. He says, I've got a friend in Kilmar's Road. Now, I didn't care where Kilmar's Road was. Now we're away up by, what do you call it, the Grange. The wrong place. Oh, no job to find it. And here it was off of Dalkeith Road, you see. And they would like, the servants left, and she would like a maid. And they've got a wee girl. She's 2.5. You see, the First World War was on. And I'd just met my husband. I was only 15 when I met my husband.
Well, where did you meet him?
I met him in the Carnegie.
You
see, I had 2 or 3 chums. And these laddies stayed in Portobello, and they used to come up and speak to us, you see. But I rued the day, for he was cruel to me.
Well, anyway, sorry to interrupt, Maggie. You were going up to the big house
yes.
because the servant had left.
Yes. Well, I went. Now I hadn't a stitch of clothes. but what I stood in. But the lady knew that through Mr. Miller, you see, Miller or crime, it was Smith. She says, I says, I don't know anything about housework. You see, the old Middletons just had a bed, an old iron bed, and I lay in a long box. And I don't think you'll ken what this is. He used to get chaff. You know what chaff is?
Yeah.
Well, he would get a sixpenny bag of chaff and put it in a tick, an old tick, for a tick for the bed. Oh, it was hard days. Well, I slept there, and we were in an attic house then. Well, but I was away fair by this. I was staying with this chum, but it worried this Miller, who says, you go and see the lady, Maggie, and I'm sure she'll train you. Well, that lady was awfully good to me, awfully good. Gave me clothes, and bought uniform. I had to get wrappers, you see, and morning
A uniform. Yeah.
uniform, and afternoon a black dress and a wee thing, and we had rubber collars these days and cuffs in service, you see. She was awfully good to me. So here, that was in 28 Craigmillar Road, that's down. There were no houses in Prestonfield then, it was all fields, all fields. And the soldiers was training in it, you see, in this field. So they used to whistle out to me, and Maggie used to wave to them and all that carry on. And I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, near the flues and all that. I didn't ken anything about it. She showed me what to do, you see. She never done it herself, but she showed me. And then when they would go into the morning room in the morning for their breakfast, Maggie would take it in the tray, the teapot and the water jug and things. I had the table laid, you see, but when I went in with the tea and the water, it was all water. I never put any tea on. Or did it repeatedly. Well, I did a lot of stupid things, you can, but she overlooked it. She trained me. And can you wash, Maggie? I says, no, I can't wash. She says, well, I'm going to get a woman in to learn you. And that James one, he says, there's no a washer like Mama's washing. Yeah, he says that about me, you can. I used to look after him. And I was 2.5 years with him.
And you got married in after that?
After that. And Ed went to the house one day, one evening, and she says, they took him in. He was in the army by this.
This is your husband?
This is my husband. I wasn't married.
No, no. Your future husband?
My future husband, aye. And the boss was awfully good to him, gave him a big box of cigarettes, and he was going away to Mons, he was going to France, you see.
On the First World War?
The First World War, that's right. And give him a dram and all thing, it was awfully good. So I had got, she let me get a break, a night off, while I went and stayed with my chum, you see. So when I went in the morning, she told me that it had been, I says, oh, Mister. However, he came after that night and seen me. See, I used to be nanny too, to the wee girl. Couldn't move her, I was dotted after with bairns, you see. So here he went in Mons, and he was invalided out.
He was wounded, was he?
No, he wasn't wounded, but he took a heart attack or something.
Oh dear.
And he went into valvular disease of the heart, you see. He had a pension for a while. But he took a heavy dram. And then the old folk died, and I had nobody. They died when Maggie was a year old. She died in Morrison. She'd flitted to the Dummy Dykes then. the old gins, you see. And I was married by this. The old gins didn't like him at all. He was awfully good looking. He was a handsome man. I'll show you a photo. He was full of conceit.
So that's a picture of him, is it?
Aye, and that's my boy that died when he was between 14 and 15.
So where's the picture of him? Let's have a look. So what did he do when he came back from the army?
Well, he was invalided, you see.
Uh-huh.
Well, he got married.
And what did he do for a living?
He was a bottle maker. He belonged to Portobello.
Uh-huh.
You see? Well, he didn't think he was a married man. He kept going out with his chums and coming in at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was a stranger in Portobello.
Oh, you moved to Portobello, did you?
I had a lovely house in Ramsey Place,
Uh-huh.
number 6, nice house. And I was awfully house proud. You see, it was trained into me through that lady that I worked with. You see? And he would come in at 2 o'clock in the morning and all that. Never see him for 5 o'clock the day before. He would go out. And oh, what rows we used to hear. Well, I was expecting my first baby. And I went and stayed with, old Middleton was alive then.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and stayed with her. And I was awfully ill with that baby. It was just worry, you know. But I had to go into the poorhouse because I left him, you see. I couldn't stand it.
No.
And I went to the old ones. And they applied to the parish ladies for help for me. He says, no, we can't do nothing for Maggie. He says, she'll have to become chargeable to us and she'll need to go into the house. That was the poorhouse.
And what was it like in the poorhouse?
Oh my God, I'll never forget those son. And I was only in my teens, mind.
And you had a wean?
No, this was before my first baby
Before
was
you
born.
Uh-huh.
Well, he says, if you go in, Maggie, and the old nobody come to see me, I took ill in it, you see. It was terrible. Oh my goodness, I'll never forget though. I often relive it. And there was nobody come to see me or nothing. And I took ill. And I was put in the hospital then. So here, the parish had got on his staff, you see, they got ahead of him. He didn't run away or nothing, but he said he wasn't going to keep me, you see. So I took him to the court, the sheriff court, when it was in Jodiford Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And no. I was in the poorhouse for a week, 2 months, I think. And they were going to lift him, you see, the never was in the jail in his life. Okay, he was that proud person, you know, but a badge, and she'd never have been a married man, that's what the judge told them. It wasn't a judge, it was really a gentleman in a room. And I went back to the old Middletons and had my baby, you see. And I stayed there and I had the bairn. Well, the bairn died. And I went back there. And I went back to the Carnegie. Well, I was in that house from when? Oh, about 30 years, I think. He died when he was 39 with valvular disease of the heart. You see, he was an old man and I was a strong lassie, you ken. And I was staying with him. I was staying with old Middletons, you see. Oh no, I wasn't. Oh, I wasn't. I'm telling lies, I'm going through the story. Wait a now. Old Middletons died. And then I went back to him and I was expecting Margaret. Do you know Margaret? Margaret's in Goulburn. So through him, you know, him knocking me about and at her, him hitting me and all this carry on. I had nobody to help me, you can.
No. How many children did you have?
10.
10.
I had 7 sons and 3 daughters. Now, I had a wee girl killed in the Carnegie.
Oh dear.
I lost a boy up here, 14 and a half, in Walkup Road. But he took a chill and it went into his lungs and he was dead in 7 weeks. See, they weren't the clever things that could save him. He would have got an operation. But he just lay and wasted away. Oh dear, that was enough he brought to me. And I've had my ups and downs in life, son. And I thank God for him sparing me, but I think I'm tired now. I'm tired.
But when you came, when did you come to Craigmillar?
1934.
Because I used to hear that Craigmillar, in 1934, many people moved out of the city, and it was almost like the country then.
Where I come. That's when I went.
I hear that it was really nice.
See, he died. Well, he had the house in the Carnegie. Well, the landlord gave me a wee end to myself in Chisel Court. You heard of Chisel
Oh, I know it,
Court?
yes. It's all been done up now.
It was hutching with rats.
Oh dear.
Oh, I used to hear them roaring down the wall. Well, we hadn't a bed to lie in or nothing. You see? They wanted to put me in the bairns in the home and me in the poorhouse. They didn't lash out money the way they get it now, you know.
No.
It's a disgrace. I get better at it. I had to work and bring my laddies up hard.
So did you all move out to Craigmillar?
Oh, my beard, he was dead.
Yes, and you all moved out?
But I had to click, no, I was in Chisel Court. In one end myself, with the bairns. And with no bed or nothing. And I used to say to Tommy, that's him. I used to say him, the sergeant. I say, son, we'll just need to sit and curry on a chair. And I had an orange bowl. Oh my goodness, when I think back. By Jove, they were me getting this and getting the next thing. You got nothing. So here, God was on my side too. A woman come for me to see if I would go in that woman's place in Murray House Training College. Well, I had 19 and a penny a week, I think it was. We got £1, but there was so much off for a stamp, you see. Well, I worked here for a good lot of years. When I come here too, I went in there. And no, I'm going through the story again. I was going to have John. That's that lad, he's 44 now. Going on 44. And I was expecting him and I was ill, you see. And we were in a room then. An old man's room, and oh my goodness, it was terrible. 6 shillings a week I gave him for the room. Well, I was working for the 19 and odds. You never got any help for anywhere. They offered you the poorhouse. That's what you got. And I had my sample of that tea. And then my feet was wet one time coming from my work, and I caught a chill, and I took rheumatics and was taken into the infirmary. But he was dead for this. And the bairns were all put in a home, you see. And John was put in a home too, and he was just an infant. Oh my goodness, I've had enough of life. And my lad is awfully good to me. They can't make up, especially that James one. He says, I minded my dad, what a wicked he was to you. But my eldest son, him, he's jealous of James. You see? But James has brought me to what I am today. He can't help me. I had nothing. No even a table or a chair or anything in the Carnegie.
Well, how did you move from there to Craigmillar?
I'll wait to tell you.
All right.
The Morrison gave me a house to myself. Well, he died.
Uh-huh.
Well, I had to claim him, you see. The policeman came and he says, you know, Maggie, everybody crying at Maggie. He says, you're his wife. I says, but I says, I didn't want nothing to do with him. Oh, but he says, you'll have to go down to, he was in the Western General, you see. He says, it's your husband, you know, and you'll have to go and claim him. Oh, I says, I don't know. But I had to go, you see, you're getting to bother. Well, I had to claim him, and I had him insured, no for very much. It took all the insurance money, and more, and I paid the rest of his funeral up at £0.50 a week. He wouldn't have done it for me. And I worked extra work for to pay that £0.50. For to, the funeral was £12 something. You see, these funerals wasn't dear. And I had to bury him. Well, I buried him respectable. And we had our own ground, you see, when I had that wee girl killed, we got money. Well, I was away from him that time too. He was out putting out. You see, me quarrelling and hitting me and that. I couldn't stand it. And I wouldn't, the policeman would say, you know, Maggie, it's no use of coming up here, you'll have to charge him. I said, never been in jail in his life. Well, he says, why send for us? See, they used to stand at the foot of the stairs, you see. Oh no, he would have killed me when he come into jail. He threatened to, before I left, and the shelter man was there and he lifted a knife. And the shelter man says, you're mad man. There was no drink about him then, but he was an ill man.
Mm-hmm.
An ill man. Well, he died and I claimed him. And I buried him for the hospital. But he had a walking funeral and there were a lot. He was well liked outside. Mm-hmm. He was a cautious saint and a house devil. Mm-hmm. You see, he was a great man for Powder Hall.
The bugs.
Worked in it. And he was making me draw 32 and 6 to keep 70s for the parish. And I reported him. 32 and 6, that's what I got. And they wouldn't believe me. They said, oh, he says, Mrs McDonald, I didn't believe that. He says, an old man said, you go to Powder Hall and you'll see him. Well, Angus had seen him, the inspector, and he got off his man. And when he come home, he says, I've seen that so-and-so, Alan. He says, down at Powder Hall. He says, where you tell him? I says, I tell him that you worked there. He says, but he says, he didn't see me. And Alan come up the next day, he says, I never seen Mr. McDonald in Powder Hall. He says, it's only hearsay. Says him an £8 to £9 a day, a night in Powder Hall. He was dressed like a gentleman, you know. But he didn't bother about his wee bairns. I wasn't caring for myself, it was my wee bairns. Oh, I stuck to my bairns through thick and thin. They offered me, the parish offered me to take the bairns and me to go on my own and work. I says, who are you talking to? I says, I'm poor. I says, but I'd never part with my bairns. That's all I live for, is my family. Well, I says, I can't do nothing for you. You got nothing. Now they can go to you and get £50 and all their houses furnished for them and nothing like that. Oh, I get awfully hungry when I think back.
But Maggie, just a question. Through all the poverty that you saw, you know, up until the time that you came to Craigmillar, and when you used to work for these people that had more money, what sort of life did they have?
Oh, beautiful homes. Oh, beautiful homes. But you see, I never spoke much about my early life, you know. They were amazed at me having such a big... I worked at Combs. Do you know Combs? The newsagent. I was 13.5 years with him. And she went away to America for a year, and I looked after that house. and they got a surgeon and his wife in. They were newly married. He was a surgeon in ward 8 or 9 in the infirmary. Well, he got a hospital for his cell in Newcastle, and he dropped down. He was a young man. I've got a photograph of her and him, bride and bridegroom. Well, I worked for them, for Mrs Combs said, when she put in the advert for to let the house for a year, she was going away to America, you see, for a holiday. But the missus, the woman, well, some of them had maids, you see. She says, no, I couldn't let it, sublet it like that. However, they got this couple, and I got a postcard for Switzerland from them. But before they were going away their honeymoon, the lady interviewed me, and Mrs Combs got a beautiful house in Dalkeith Road. Just as you know, Comas Terrace. Well, they stay in the second flat in Dalkeith Road. Beautiful house. But there's no family. I was there for years and years and years, and I looked after that home. And when she come home that night, I was there, you see. She says, Maggie, the house, she was off the house proud. She says, the house is like I've never been away. You see, everything was intact. Oh, aye.
What was Edinburgh like during the First World War, Maggie?
Ah, it was awfully person.
Aye.
Folk were poor.
Yeah, with all the men away.
All men were cried up with their beds through the night to go to the war.
And was food short at all?
And we, I think. Oh, we just existed. You can, we weren't much money going about, you know.
No.
Just existed. You couldn't get any luxuries of what you got, you know.
And what about the Depression? I mean, was that a poor time? So the late 1920s?
Now, there was a strike.
The general strike?
Aye, oh, mind
What was that
that
like?
I was expecting James then. And the police for the high street where the clock is, all mounted police, and all the folk were all bunch shouting at them and roaring, and then they made one bridge at the folk.